advice on my predicament. I would welcome any feedback. I'm 35 years old, and my 31-year-old wife stopped having any intimacy with me about 6 months ago, and I'm not sure what to do. We have 2 boys, one is 3 years old and the other is 1.5. We are also in the process of building a house. I don't like watching the world burn, and I like to take action as soon as possible to address any difficulties. So I started a talk with my wife to figure out what transpired. I asked her, "Why did you stop speaking to me, hugging me, and kissing me? Why did you get concerned about the contact of my hand on your body? Why did you stop having any type of closeness with me?" She was initially reluctant to speak. There was a difficult cover to breach, but she eventually opened up. What I discovered is that I'm not enough for her. She's doing everything alone, can't rely on me, and feels like she's wearing the pants around the house. She told me she makes all of the decisions and handles the kids on her own. She even stated, "You would be better alone." She mentioned that I'm an introvert, but not a diehard one, among other things. It was upsetting to hear, but I accepted her words. I assured her I understood her suffering and promised to improve my behavior so she wouldn't have to worry about it. I love her so much that I'd rather agree than start a fight. However, I have my own thoughts, which occasionally prevent me from sleeping. A major red flag led me to this group. Her accusations are false, in my opinion, yet I honestly believe I meet the standards of a good husband. I work from home for about 8 to 9 hours per day, but then I care for my boys. I play with them, feed them, take the older one swimming, put them to bed, and so on. I can also get up in the middle of the night if necessary. Aside from caring for the children, I help with housework. I do the dishes, grocery shopping, and some cleaning, but she likes to clean because I am not as efficient. I handle the car and other aspects of our new home. I do a lot to make her life simpler, and I know it's difficult with 2 little sons. The truth is, I'm not someone who is constantly proactive. Some folks can't sit on the couch for more than 5 minutes without thinking about what to do next, what to mend, what business to start, or what duties to complete. Her father is like this, but I am not. Once the kids are asleep, the work is completed, and the house is cleaned, I prefer to relax by watching a movie or playing video games. I am also not the sort to start my own business. I am skilled in my profession and prefer to be instructed what to do in order to do my tasks successfully. There are plenty of people like that, and I'm not ashamed of it. I don't pursue a glamorous career. I don't imagine having millions in my bank account. I'm simply a regular guy, a good-looking one, who wants to have a healthy, happy family while earning a reasonable living. I knew she was having problems with that, despite having been happily married for 4 years and together for 5 years prior. The conversation happened in December. After that, I began to work against my personality, which resulted in some proactive effort, such as additional groceries and house repairs. Basically, not sitting on my butt in the evenings. There's no rest. She liked it, but it didn't improve her attitude toward me, so I had to initiate a second conversation. Given how she treated me, I questioned her from the outset. "Do you want to save the marriage?" She said, "I don't know." It was difficult to swallow, but in order to proceed, I asked her, "Do you want to go to marriage counseling?" She said, "I don't know." I continued, "It's not a moment to not know if our kids may have parents living separately soon." After hearing that, she agreed, and I needed to get a therapist. She showed no interest in that. During our conversation, she revealed to me several sad truths, such as, "I married you simply to impress my parents and married sisters so that we might have a large happy family with beautiful children. I married you because I was fascinated rather than in love." I also learned that she had a meeting with her colleague clergyman to discuss our marriage. Anyway, I found a fantastic therapist, and we're approaching our 3rd session. We discovered that we have distinct love languages. I require touch, she needs work done. However, she hasn't touched me since we started counseling. No hugging. After the 2 sessions, I asked her whether she liked it and how she felt, and all she said was that she's uncomfortable sharing our personal information with an unknown stranger. When the therapist discovered we hadn't slept in the same room in 6 months, she was taken aback. My wife said that it is because she is sleeping with the children in the bed, and there is no room for me. The therapist responded that not allowing a husband in the bedroom sets a negative example for the children, and that if there isn't enough room on the bed, go to IKEA and buy a single bed and install it next to the larger one. I did exactly that. I bought it, put it together, and am currently sleeping there. Funny thing is, I still feel like I'm sleeping alone. She's far to the left, the boys are in the center, and I'm far to the right. My wife's testimony has altered slightly since the beginning of the issue. She began to express her depression as a result of spending so much time at home with her children. She informed me she said all of those things because she was overly emotional, etc. I would never say anything like that to her under any circumstances, but I guess I had to trust her. She recently returned to work, and we hired a nanny. The only change in her conduct is that we began to communicate, but I am more than just her friend. I am also her spouse, and there is no intimacy. There are no signs that things will improve. She doesn't care about the next marriage counseling appointments, so I have to keep arranging them. She informed me she doesn't need sex and had only done it when I wanted it. I felt like an abuser. She was never into lovemaking. We had it once a week, which was okay with me. It could have happened more frequently, but it was fine. We've had sex twice this year, both out of pity. One was in early January to celebrate my birthday. Now it appears that I need to have a birthday to be laid. The other time was following a counseling session. She just lay there, covering her chest and waiting for me to finish, which made me want it less. That is not what this is meant to be about. When I bring it up, she simply replies, "That's who I am. If you don't like it, simply leave me." I do not know what to do. Please advise. Update 1. There was one instance where my wife attempted to phone her ex-boyfriend 4 times in a row at 10 p.m. She didn't talk to him, but she attempted to contact him. I know this because we used to have an app that saved our 2 phone numbers and allowed me to see incoming and outgoing calls for both. After that, I went crazy. Why does my wife contact her ex 4 times at 10 p.m.? I chose to check her texts on her laptop. I felt bad, but it was justified. We were married, had children, and she was acting strangely. After phoning him 4 times, she texted him, "I'm going to keep calling until you pick up and talk to me like a normal human being." When I asked her about it, she lied and said she wouldn't call him. So I showed her the app and her outgoing calls. She had nothing else to do except admit that she attempted to contact him. I inquired why, and she said that she was phoning back, knowing that she had also written to him after the call. I asked if she wrote to him after the call, and she responded no. Then I showed her the message she sent to him. She said that he had gotten drunk and called her, saying some nonsense. When she heard it, she ordered him to fuck off and hung up. Then she felt bad about it and tried calling him 4 times because he didn't answer. Finally, she wrote what she did and he did not respond. I'm not sure what to think about it. It happened about the time she stopped being intimate with me. Her perspective on the scenario is that it is neither strange nor awful, and that hiding it from me was not crucial to her. The point is, any communication with an ex is a terrible sign, and it is unacceptable to me. Is she cheating? We hadn't had any intimacy in 6 months and then the calls came. Update 2. Thanks to everybody for your insights. At first, I couldn't believe how many of you said she was cheating on me. It reminded me of science fiction, something I'd only see in movies. Maybe I thought my wife would never do something like this, but today everything changed. It became a fact. I feel stupid for being just another person in this circumstance, but I guess that's how life works. Now I know I promised to call her ex and speak with her family, but I decided to take a step back and keep it cool. Could you believe how simple that was? All I did was install a voice-activated recorder in our car, not a GPS. It was only there for 3 days. She took the car for work, then went to a workout, and then called him. Or perhaps he called her. I'm not sure who called who, but I heard everything. It was a video conversation on the phone. I learned everything I needed to know about sex and our respective lifestyles. They talked as my wife and I did when we first met 9 years ago. The same attraction, jokes, and so on. I haven't had this with her in a long time. They even discussed vacation plans. She wants to visit him in July. Wow, she offered him 2 years to move back to our country. I can't believe this. Now, after listening to an hour-long recording of this nonsense, I have some things to process. I need to meet with an attorney next week. All I wanted to say was thank you. You opened my eyes. If it hadn't been for you, I would never have purchased the blasted voice recorder. And to think, I felt horrible putting it in the car. My God. I will keep you updated, but for now, I need to relax and think about my children and what she has done. They started this in September of last year, and it took me 2 months to detect changes in her behavior. I will be caring for my elderly father in another city for the next week, therefore she will be unable to work for that time. Instead, she'll use my home office. This also indicates she'll most likely be speaking with him in the office. Should I store the recorder in the office for the next week, or do I have enough? Update 3. It began in September of last year, and I've been out of the picture for quite some time. Right now, she doesn't want to spend any time with me in the apartment we rent. She always has an excuse, something to do, visiting her parents, going to see her friends, etc. She even falls asleep or simply lies in bed after we put our children to bed, 1 and 3 years old. The recording says it all. She expresses her love for him, her desire to visit him, and to have sex with him. They talk extensively about his personal life. She told him she wanted to go on a trip with him and that she would marry him shortly. She even said she was leaving me. They talked about his preferred love-making position, so sure, they had sex. It is all there. The thing is, she has no idea that I know. Her entire family and circle of friends have no idea. They simply believe we are going through a brief crisis. She is one of 3 Catholic sisters and attends church every Sunday. We live in a tiny town with 20,000 inhabitants. We recently built a house, but it is not finished. I believe she will petition for divorce very soon. I can tell she is suffering with me in the apartment, and she can't take it longer. Her body language and absolute absence of discussion demonstrate this. She wants me to leave soon so that I can be gone for a while, and then, within 2 years, the AP, affair partner, will relocate to the tiny town to live with her and my 2 young sons in our home. In the recording, she says she gives him 2 years to return to our country. People will understand that she needs a father for her children and will not object. The AP is her first boyfriend, and they dated for 7 years before she married me. We have been together for 9 years. The AP lives abroad but makes frequent visits to our country. I refuse to be played that way. I now have an attorney, and we will meet with him soon to discuss this. I can basically ruin her reputation by giving people clips from the recording. Please provide me with any suggestions. What should I do if she served me papers? According to my attorney, my documents will require a month of preparation. I never imagined I would be dealing with a monster like this. Update 4. I visited with the attorney and got some important information. It turns out that destroying her universe would not be a wise decision. We have children, and I'll be co-parenting with her for the next 15 to 16 years. Another reason is that I respect her family and do not want them to serve as witnesses in the divorce. Also, I would not gain custody of the children because they are young and need to remain with their mother in the tiny town, which is an hour away from me in the capital city. I'd be an every other weekend father anyway. Finally, I would not be able to sell our house because the children require adequate living conditions and will not be able to find alternative housing. They are currently living on her father's farm, which is only temporary. As bad as it seems, this is the truth in Poland, Europe. Following our conversation, the attorney sent her the documents. They were scheduled to be delivered shortly after Easter. Easter is celebrated in Poland over 2 days, on Sunday and Monday. I faked it all at the table, and drinking helped a lot. Yesterday, Tuesday, I had a day off from work and was caring for my 1-year-old son. She went to work in the capital city, which is an hour away. In the interim, my brother assisted me in moving all of my belongings from the flat to his car. The postman delivered the divorce papers, which were actually an invitation to mediation, so that we could divide things civilly and divorce amicably. According to the article, she is in a relationship with this guy, which is why she is getting divorced. The evidence I have will be used as leverage when establishing child support, etc. When she entered the house, I informed her that I knew everything. I have incontrovertible documentation. I am profoundly hurt by it, and she should call my lawyer. Then I handed her the divorce papers and left to visit her folks. Of course, she began to question what and how I knew, and she denied everything. Her parents were shocked, but they believed me. I documented everything, as instructed by my counsel. It began with me asking if they thought I was a nice, caring husband and father. They agreed, and now she can't use them as witnesses against me in court. As I previously stated, they believed me and recognized that what she had done was horrific. She had devastated our lives as well as the lives of our children. I thanked them for their understanding and headed to the capital. Meanwhile, I called a buddy, who took care of delivering the news to her friends. 2 hours later, my brother-in-law called to tell me that she admitted to cheating on me with the AP, affair partner, but she did not admit to having sex with him. He told me that everyone was on my side, and she had destroyed our family. He also informed me that her sister had visited my soon-to-be ex-wife and told her how nasty she is. But in the end, he claimed that all could be saved. He had cheated on his wife, she had forgiven him, and they were now happy. Then her father called and said that it was entirely her responsibility and that she had no idea what she had done. He informed me that the AP would never enter his home and that he would stop financially supporting my soon-to-be ex-wife. He even contacted the AP, but the individual did not answer. In the end, he expressed his belief that it could be salvaged. Finally, her other sister texted me, saying she fully supports me but feels it can be saved. I dislike that because I am certain it cannot be rescued. I'm concerned they'll cling to the fact that I don't have a love-making tape of them, and my reasoning will be insufficient to convince her to go. I have audio recordings of Mom saying stuff like, "Make sure you'll last more than 3 seconds when I see you in Holland," and, "I wonder whether your dad's junk is the same as yours." You know what? I'll approach that woman and ask her how long your brother's crap is, then tell her how long yours is. She also used phrases like, "I love you. I am planning to leave my hubby. Please record yourself and give me the video. Your favorite position is crappy style with a straight back, and I'm showing you what your life with me will be like. I'm giving you 2 years to relocate back here." All of this, combined with her lack of emotion toward me during the last 7 months, is proof enough for me. Furthermore, soon after the incident, she informed me that she would never stop loving him. This is more than adequate proof for me. What are your thoughts? Anyway, as many of you have previously indicated, she is currently crawling back after her family confronted her with everything. She's sending me texts like, "I had no idea what I was doing. I can't picture life without you. I am deeply sorry for anything I have done. I'm waiting with the kids for your return." She also stated that she did not mean to inform me that she has always loved him. I'm not sure. They're making me feel like I rushed into the divorce since I don't have a real love-making tape. They do not know everything. All they know is that I have proof, but she won't acknowledge having sex with him. It's plausible because he's in Holland, but he may have seen her here. Update 5. Many of you informed me that now that the papers had been served, she would begin crawling back to save her face in front of the family and to get me back because she requires a lot of assistance with our 2 young boys. It happened, she began writing to me on Messenger, although not very frequently. All of the messages read the same. "I can't imagine my life without you. I love only you." She also sent images of our children and words stating, "We're waiting for you and love you very, very much." That is it. It has been 5 weeks and she hasn't contacted or visited me. She had numerous possibilities, including driving past my parents' house, where I currently live. Only messenger texts appear infrequently. We also saw each other a few times while switching children, and she never tried to apologize or say anything, just a brief hi and bye. Her family began communicating with me much more regularly. Her father contacted me twice, her mother emailed me a dozen links to Christian pages about forgiveness, and one of her sisters texted me, apologizing and believing my wife has been possessed by an evil spirit. Her other sister explained how my wife had damaged our family and that she did not expect me to return to her. My brother-in-law even stopped over and took me out for a beer. He wasn't attempting to be persuasive, he was simply discussing what had happened and what might happen in the future if I didn't return. Sure, he wanted me to come back, but he wasn't forcing me. Essentially, all of these conversations were the same. "We can't believe she did what she did. We would like you to return to her, but we understand if you do not." However, the day came when I had made up my mind. My lawyer informed her lawyer that I had decided that I would not be able to forgive her in time and requested a divorce. My lawyer provided my terms, and we're currently waiting for her counsel to respond. While I waited for their response, her sister began criticizing me and telling me that I was going to wreck the marriage. She claimed unequivocally that it was my wife who started all of this by being selfish, but she is now very regretful, crying, and wishing she could turn back time. Now it is my turn to be selfish, and I intend to end the marriage by divorcing her. According to her, it's all on me now because I can rescind the divorce and return it for the children. She suggested I didn't even need to return to my wife, just raise my 2 sons. She told me how angry I am and how it will only become worse with time. She told me to just suck it up and keep living with my wife, framing this divorce as my revenge on her but stressing that it is also retribution on our children. I can't understand it. Others had warned me that this would happen, that the circumstances would shift and her family would turn against me, but it still shocked me. For a moment today I felt horrible, as if it was all my fault, that my wife treated me like garbage for more than half a year, that she chose to abandon me physically and emotionally, and that she wanted to leave. So yes, they had a strong influence on me. It's incredibly difficult, but I won't change my mind. The divorce will occur. It appears that they now have a narrative in which I am the guy who abandons the kids. I've been thinking about how to end this dispute by giving my terms for reconciliation, terms she's unlikely to accept. I don't love her, but I'd do it for the kids, whom I adore dearly. No marriage, only a relationship. Separate your finances. She leaves her hometown and moves with her children to the capital city where I live, GPS in the car till she stops driving in her old age, daily phone checks, all after I finish my 7 months of dates with random girls. I would also not be afraid to cheat during the relationship and never tell her. If she finds out, it makes no difference because there is no marriage. I do not care. What are your thoughts? It's only a notion. Nothing serious. I probably won't do it anyhow, but I don't know what else to do to keep the family from accusing me of abandoning the children. In Poland, Europe, tiny children like ours must be near their mother in the event of a divorce. I can't have them since she lives in a tiny town an hour distant from me, and the kids attend kindergarten and nursery there. We cannot divide custody 50-50ths. I'll be the every other weekend dad, with full access anytime I choose. It's sad and unpleasant, but that's how it is. Update 6. It's been 2 months since I confronted her, gave her divorce papers, and relocated to the capital city, an hour away from the little hamlet where we used to live together. I currently live with my parents and sleep on the couch in their living room. The dining table has been converted into a workspace/entertainment area, and my clothes are hung on every chair around. I work from home for 8 hours and then normally help my elderly parents, who are 88 and 71 years old, with household duties. I do their grocery and drive them to doctor's appointments. Apart from that, I go to the gym or the movies to get away from bad thoughts about what happened. I visit my children every weekend. She drops them off, and I take them back. The weekends are fantastic, and I find myself actually happy when I'm with them. I took a paternity test, and the boys are mine, so there is no confusion there. The situation with the divorce terms is currently unknown. It's difficult to predict what will happen because I live with my parents, and as a father of 2 and a mature man, I don't have anywhere else to live. I want a large sum of money from my wife, and she is taking over the mortgage for the house. She consented to the mortgage takeover but only offered 1/3 of the amount I requested, citing her contribution to the house's construction. The thing is, I did not cause this circumstance. I'm not guilty, and I need a place to live. 1/3 of the sum I want will not help me buy a flat, so the discussion between our attorneys continues. She's offering me such a low price because she wants to keep the house. However, the last time we spoke, I learned that she may be forced to sell it. This is what she should have done since the beginning. She'll be unable to pay both the mortgage and me. We'll see how it goes. Other financial issues, such as child support, are also up for debate. She wants too much, and it must be agreed upon. She also argues that I should be the one to pick up the children from the little town and drive them home. By the end of the weekend, there will have been a lot of fuel and time spent. It should be her dropping them off and me driving them home. As you can see, she is responsible for everything, but she is also willing to argue about the conditions of the divorce. Her sister invited me to attend her daughter's communion last Sunday. I went to spend more time with my boys. Every family member is aware that my decision is definite, therefore they did not even attempt to talk to me about it. I basically took care of my boys while everyone else drank and ate at the table following the ceremony. However, at one point my wife questioned whether my decision was completely final. I glanced at her and said as gently as I could, "Yes, it is final, and nothing will change it. I'm here now for my guys, to spend as much time with them as possible." However, she went on to express her genuine shame and regret for what she had done. She informed me she stopped her relationship with the AP by going to an exorcist, telling him everything about the affair, and then leaving it in God's hands. To that, I said that I don't care about her priest, and if there's anyone she should be telling everything to, it's me. At that point, it was just ludicrous, but I said, "Okay, if you're truly sorry, I'm here to give you one last chance to tell me the whole truth. Tell me how often you had sex with him." She said that she didn't. Then I asked her, "Do you remember that party you held with your work pals in November? Why did you rent a flat for the night, Airbnb, instead of staying at one of your friend's apartments?" After hearing it, she went paralyzed and couldn't say anything except, "Why do you need to keep torturing yourself with it?" I stated that if she was truly sorry, she would stop lying 2 months after I left her. This was just one example. I told her having sex over video chat is the same, and I knew she did it with him. She could not remember how many times she had done it with the AP. After that, I asked her, "How do you picture getting back together? You start a conversation with me, then lie the next second. Do you realize I'll be checking your phone every day? What are your thoughts about that?" She responded, "That would not be trust. It would simply be treating me as rubbish." Then our son intervened, and the conversation was nearing its end. I ended with, "Remember, you didn't just cheat on me. You also cheated on our 2 adorable, wonderful boys." It ruined her. She began shrieking that this was the last time I told her something like that in front of our children. It's interesting because her sister has told me that my wife is hurting and crying every day as a result of all of this. It's a true two-faced woman, sobbing in front of her family while lying to me. She even stated that if she wished, she would join the AP and her family. I couldn't do anything about it, as if I should be grateful that she broke up with him and is now in control of not being with him. So come on. I think I'm simply venting at this point and keeping you updated. Thank you all for your support. I'll be strong and end this mess one day. I believe my boys will want psychological assistance if things do not turn out nicely. The older one has been scared lately, but I will always be there for them. Update 7. Our attorneys finally reached a deal, and the divorce will take place shortly. She has taken over the unfinished house and is now solely responsible for the mortgage. The house is for the kids, and I don't want anyone to tell me later that I sold it as part of my revenge on her. Furthermore, I don't want to live in her small hamlet, which is an hour away from the capital city where I am currently. However, I am receiving what I put into it, and that amount is not awful at all. The child support amount is reasonable, and we agreed that she will drop the kids off to my residence in the capital city every other weekend. I'll just need to drive them back. Now, I see my children virtually every weekend, but it's not enough for me. It causes me so much anguish that I can't take it sometimes. I simply cannot allow 1- and 3-year-old boys to grow up without a father because of an unruly mother. I only wish I could have them, but it's not feasible due to Polish laws. I'll have to start driving there in the middle of the week or something to get by. As for her, she keeps texting me that she loves me, wishes she could go back in time, and is suffering as a result of her actions each day. She softened to the point that she told me that she no longer considers checking her phone to be treating her as garbage. She agreed and said I could do it all the time. She also said we may transfer from the tiny village to the main metropolis. She pledged to tell me everything about the affair, every detail, if I would accept her back. She came to see my parents and apologized. Something must have changed, or someone must have informed her of something. She's now eager to do anything and even displaying some guilt. The last time she messaged me, she said, "Thank you for not selling the house and ending the relationship amicably. Accepting the divorce is synonymous with agreeing to your terms. I'll have to agree in court, but let me assure you that it won't be true. I do not want this divorce, and I adore you. I know you don't believe it, and I understand, but I want you to know that I hope to have the opportunity to prove my love to you someday. I adore you and am sorry for everything. There are no words to explain how much I regret everything. Things like those sway me and hinder the healing process. I'd be lying if I said her remarks didn't affect me. The idea of my boys growing up in the capital city rather than the tiny town is appealing. I know she struggles with being alone with 2 tiny boys, but she cheated and wrecked everything. I expected it to grow better with time, but the wound healed quite slowly. I shall remain the course. I'll end this. I'll update one day, maybe when I'm finally happy. What are your thoughts? Do you believe my wife is sincerely sorry? She only agreed to tell me about her infidelity after I stated I might come back, not right away. She didn't offer to let me check her phone immediately. She did not immediately volunteer to go to the metropolis from the tiny village. It took 3 months for her to demonstrate contrition. When she apologizes, she doesn't even contact or visit me. She does it over Messenger. Her entire family has now sided with her. Her mother calls me a narcissist, and her sister claims that I only want to profit from the divorce and leave a lady with 2 young sons. I paid a brief visit to my children yesterday, and she invited me to spend the night. Naturally, I left. I'd appreciate any insight. Update 8. D-Day was April 7th, and here's how I feel after nearly half a year. In such complex scenarios, the same questions must be answered on a daily basis. In my case, the question is if I still love her. Could I go back to her solely for the children? Do I want to return to her little village to complete building the house? Would I be okay with myself in 5 to 10 years knowing what she had done? The answer to all of the inquiries is a resounding negative at this point. That is it. Yes, I adore my children and wish I could spend every day with them, but I cannot. I want to love her, but I can't, even though she wants me back. I wish I could have that family back, but I cannot. I want to forget everything, but I can't. I even gave her a second chance, which included moving to my city with the kids to begin a new life. She didn't even agree, telling me that she has her family's assistance in the little town and will not sell the house since she wants our children to have something in the future. When I informed her that family isn't the silly building, but a mother, father, and children, she just shut up. This is when I realized there is no longer a us. There is no mutual agreement or middle ground in this. I mentioned that I would not continue living in the tiny town because that is where the affair began. He observed her driving down the street and phoned her. I went on to say that I will not finish building a house 1 mile away from her AP's family home, and that I will not spend another day of my life worrying about meeting him someday. He lives abroad but pays 2 to 3 visits to his family each year. The conversation then ended. I despise the little town. She does not wish to live in the capital. That is it. Here's an example of how she approaches things. We agreed that I would take the money I put into the house and she would keep the building for the children. She now has an issue with this because there is a clause in the agreement that specifies she cannot sell the house until the children reach 18, adults in Poland. Otherwise, she will have to divide the money she would receive from selling the house evenly between herself and me. She believes this is unjust because she intends to build the house with her own money, and if it is sold, I would receive half of the proceeds from a far more expensive finished house. When I asked her why she would consider selling it, she explained that she cannot anticipate what her life will be like. I can't trust her at this point, so I'm considering just selling the building. I can't bear the thought of selling the house I bought for my children. Update 9. She sent me a message today asking for a response to her question. I'm asking you online because if I were to do it in person, we'd just shout at each other. You've told me who I am and what I've done, and you don't want to talk about it anymore. After all of this, do you want to forgive me, put the past behind you and start over with your family, or do you already know you don't and will never be able to forgive me, and you'll never return to us? Please think about it and let me know if you want our marriage back. What does this mean? I don't think she's in a position to demand that I be so detailed right now. I believe there is another person involved, and she wants to discuss the problem with me. I replied, I'm worth more than a messenger conversation, and we'll talk soon. I chatted to her. I laid forth my only 2 conditions for this marriage to last. Move to the capital city and cut all links with the AP and his family. The second is obvious to her, but the first is an insurmountable impediment. She apologizes for her actions, but she refuses to relocate to Warsaw because we will never be able to afford a magnificent large house there, and even tiny apartments are prohibitively expensive to rent. She claims that our children have it easy in the tiny town. She just pays the bills for the flat she presently resides in because it is her father's property. In Warsaw, she would have to spend 4 to 5 times more for a smaller flat, bills and rent. She also has enough friends and family to visit with the kids after work. That is all true. I see the children are pleased, and it is handy for her. She claimed if we moved, only I would be thrilled about it. It would boost my ego. It's just a bad scenario since she's right. Her sister owns the small town's kindergarten, which we pay nearly nothing for. She simply put me in an impossible scenario to solve. Situation: I hold my ground. I will not live in the little town, but it does not make sense for them to relocate. In this scenario, we agreed that I would simply continue to visit and spend as much time as possible with the children. I will continue to take them to Warsaw every other weekend. She informed me she will not date anyone else and will only wait for me, and that I will see for myself in the future, that she will remain single. I find it difficult to believe, but I don't really care. Maybe it's good since the kids will just have me as a father figure, rather than some random guy. During our chat, she said several things that demonstrated that she is not a remorseful person. When I asked why she hadn't phoned me once during our separation and had just texted me, she stated she didn't have time with 2 kids running around the house. She stated that she will never discuss the affair again and will not provide me with any other information if I inquire. She is done with it and will not discuss anything else with me because I informed her family some information she did not want me to share with them. She informed me that the AP had been writing to her for many years and that she had always rejected him, but when he wrote last year, she chose to start an affair with him due to my passive approach. I immediately told her what she said was very horrible, and she rolled her eyes and said, "You're only thinking about yourself. You are the only poor guy in this." Update 10. I've learned to live alone with little time with my children, and now I want to date again. Actually, I began using dating apps some time ago. I get a good number of matches, and arranging up a date with a nice woman is no problem. In general, I had 2 to 3 short-term relationships that had to terminate since I was always busy with the kids when they wanted to meet. Every other weekend is completely off, although I wish they were longer. I always lied about having a meeting or whatever, and they saw it as a lack of interest on my part. The trouble is, how can I navigate this? For the time being, I don't tell new girls that I'm almost divorced with 2 children. I discovered that the only way for the second or third date to occur is to avoid exposing this too soon. Is there a solution to this? Is there any chance a girl would stick with me if I gave her the truth from the start? Has anyone experienced a similar situation? I don't necessarily want to be in a serious relationship right now, but I hope to be in one in the future. My wife overreacts to our daughter's minor injuries, causing strain in our parenting and increasing tension within the family. My 28F wife, 26F Sophia takes every scratch our daughters, 7 and 5, get extremely seriously. Every bruise, every scraped knee, every cut is an emergency to her. And because they're emergencies to her, they become emergencies to the girls. Not only does this mean it's hard to tell when an injury is actually dangerous, did she twist her ankle, or break it? Is her arm bruised, or fractured? But the kids are responding badly to any hurt they feel now. At the mere sight of blood, the 7 starts wailing like she's been stabbed. Even worse, her sister has started intentionally banging her arm into things or falling on concrete if she thinks she's not getting enough attention. Last week my wife took the oldest one to urgent care because she got a canker sore, and Sophia was convinced it was something more sinister. While she was gone, I had the younger one, who was upset that Sophia had spent so long on her sister and had now taken her to the doctor to get special attention. So she threw herself on the tile floor in front of me and started screaming and holding the wrist she hadn't actually twisted. I'm so tired of all of this, I just let her scream. When I didn't give her the attention she wanted, her screaming in pain turned into sobbing because I wasn't cuddling her and kissing her better and promising her cookies and a late bedtime. I told her I'd be in the den with the cats when she felt like joining us. I felt like a bitch for letting her cry herself out, but she's never going to learn to walk off scooter falls or getting hit with dodgeballs at this rate, and she can't be rewarded for this kind of behavior. It's just not healthy. Eventually she ran out of tears and came to sit with us, and I let her have a watered-down soda. Well, when Sophia got back with the older kid, who now had the same numbing gel we already had in the cabinet and $200 urgent care bill, our younger daughter told her what happened, and now she's furious at me for ignoring something that could have been serious. I told her she's the one making mountains out of molehills and feeding into the actual dangerous behavior. We've been fighting about it all week, and the kids have only been acting up more as a result. I'm so tired of this. Maybe my appendix will burst and I can spend a few nights in the hospital away from this insanity. Relevant comments. OP on if her wife had PPD when she got pregnant and gave birth. Did her wife have any medical trauma? OP. No and no. Both of them were adopted, and to the best of my knowledge, she's never had negative doctor experiences. If she had, it wouldn't make sense to keep dragging the girls in for scratched knees. She's absolutely setting them up for failure. She just refuses to see that. If someone here can convince her to see a therapist, or an ounce of reason related to this specific situation, then they're miracle workers. She's great in almost every other aspect. I love her, but the constant coddling and panicking is getting ridiculous. Did OP and her wife have infertility problems? OP, no. As far as I know, both of us were perfectly healthy reproductively speaking. All pregnancy is dangerous, and IVFs usually result in multiples, increasing the risks or forcing termination if it doesn't take right. And they're ridiculously expensive. A lot of places aren't exactly trustworthy when it comes to ensuring the health of sperm donors, etc. There wasn't a chance in hell I was ever carrying children, so that was out. She never fought to carry them. When we decided we wanted kids and we were in a place that it was feasible, we looking for agencies and found our girls. OP on the relationship her wife has with their daughters, and if she's overprotective. OP. We've had long talks that always dissolve into arguments over the subject before. As I understand it, she really sees nothing wrong with what she's doing. She wants to make the girls feel like they'll be seen and taken care of, but she's going too far. She does spend time with them regularly. She has an office job and has them alone from 6 p.m. onwards on days when I work, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And she doesn't work on weekends at all. But yes, the younger one has definitely learned that making it look like she's hurt herself, or actually hurting herself, however minor, is a surefire way of getting Madre's attention. Not sure I helped last week. I don't want her thinking Mama doesn't care, but I just could not bring myself to reward her pretending to be hurt. That's an interesting idea. It might help the girls, although I don't see it changing Sophia's behavior much. Update. Wow, my first post got more popular than I was expecting. Not a full update, but a few people were curious, so I thought I'd throw this out there with some of this week's developments and some clarifications. This sub only allows 2 updates, so the next one, if I end up publishing it, probably won't be anytime soon. TLDR, my 28F wife, 26F, has been making our daughter's injuries worse by treating all of them like an emergency. This has led to the older one, 7, to genuinely believe that every injury could be fatal, and the younger one, 5, to realize that if she's hurt she gets special things like cookies, candy, extended bedtimes, movies, etc. And is the main source of conflict in our marriage. Clarifications. 1. This is not Munchausen by proxy. Y'all have got to lay off the Hulu docuseries and stop trying to diagnose strangers with serious and sinister medical issues based on one post written by their annoyed spouse. My wife does not hurt them. She's not poisoning them. or looking for drugs to feed them, or posting all over social media about how great she is and how lucky the girls are, etc., 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 or trying to scam people out of money or a Habitat for Humanity house. Sophia is not worrying for the attention of it. She is trying to ensure that they don't feel ignored and neglected, to the point that she takes everything that they say seriously, but she's gone too far and it is now backfiring. The few people who pointed out that the younger's behavior of faking injuries or actually giving herself a bruise could develop into something more serious are correct, however, which is a concern that I also have. 2. Attention. The girls get attention. They get plenty of attention from both of us. They are not being neglected to the point that they need to injure themselves as a cry for help. For one thing, my older daughter doesn't do that. She is just genuinely convinced that bruises could be internal bleeding and any bump on the head could be a concussion. Which means that I'm going to have to give her the period talk pretty soon, or she's going to think she's dying if she starts early. For another thing, the younger one tends to only do it when she thinks her sister is getting something she wants, or we said no earlier in the day. They get attention, but they get special attention when they're sick or hurt. Someone in the comments last time, don't remember the name, suggested flipping it to discourage the younger girl's behavior, by essentially taking away fun things and forcing them to rest when they're sick or hurt. A few other people suggest pain charts of some variety, or first aid classes. Those might help with the older one and Sophia herself. That was probably the most viable advice I got, however well-meaning and true a lot of other stuff was. 3. Therapy right now is not an option. You can suggest it all you want, I can and have suggested all I want, but as of right now it will not be happening anytime soon. We had a bad experience with a highly regarded adoption specialist therapist a few years ago that resulted in our older daughter having more issues with her adoption than she did when we started, issues that we've had to figure out how to manage on our own because the 2 therapists we tried after that only compounded and exacerbated those new issues. My daughter would have been better off if she'd never been to therapy in the first place. As a result, my wife has lost almost all of her faith in mental health professionals. Quite frankly, I lost the majority of mine as well, and while I've made mention of it to Sophia, my bigger focus is on getting her to just change this one behavior. 4. Was my wife traumatized as a child by being medically neglected? To the best of my knowledge, no. She doesn't have any long-term health issues, and she was never very involved in any physical and potentially dangerous sports when we were in school. Her family hasn't suffered from very many illnesses or accidents, even during COVID. So while I've driven myself to an emergency dentist before and broken my wrist without even knowing it, the only time she's ever been in a hospital was to pick her dad up from a colonoscopy. At least before she started taking our daughters in for benign bumps, bruises, and cuts. 5. No, my wife does not have anything postpartum. The actual update. After a couple of other comments brought up how my girls behave away from us, I decided to ask. My wife works a normal 9-5, while I work 3/12s from 6 p.m. to a.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. During the winter they have school and daycare respectively. This winter the younger one will be in kindergarten though, and during the summer they both go to daycare from about 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on my work days, and just in the mornings on other days as needed. I do drop-offs and pickups. When I picked them up on Monday, I decided to ask one of the caretakers how the girls had been behaving. She told me they were fine. They bickered sometimes, but there was nothing unusual going on. I asked what happens when they get hurt or feel sick during the day, how they handle it, etc. I didn't tell them about my wife. I didn't want to be telling tales out of, or at, school. I think she might have thought I was looking for help, which I was technically, because she told me that as soon as a kid falls down, or takes a ball to the face or anything else, they start the whole interaction by telling them you're okay, and assessing the damage calmly as they approach. Even if the kid is bleeding, they don't react. They say something like, "Wow, that looked kind of scary. I bet it surprised you. Let's see your arm/leg/whatever." She basically wrote me a script. I asked her how my girls reacted to it, and she told me that the older one was a little more sensitive than her peers. She cried easily, and they had to be extra firm with the "you're okays" with her. The younger one she saw a little less. She's in a different age bracket. She only just turned 5, so she's still technically in the pre-K group. But she'd never heard anything about her. I asked what exactly they do if a kid is bleeding or bruised. For bruises, they can sit with a little ice pack for 15 minutes before they need to come back to the ground, unless it's actually serious. And for cuts, they get it washed and a band-aid. So nothing exciting as far as I could tell. The fact that we haven't been called into the school to pick up our totally terribly injured 5-year-old before tells me that she knows she won't get Madre's special treatment at the school, And since I will be the one picking her up if they think she's too sick or something, there's really no point in kicking up too much of a fuss unless she just wants to hold something cold for a few minutes. Neither of the girls have been hurt or sick this week. We stopped arguing, because I frankly do not have the energy to do so constantly. I'll look into the pain chart and first aid classes and bring up boring damage mitigation soon, once we've both had time to calm down. Additional information from OP, I'm going to put this here, since apparently it needs to be said. I am aware that saying it's okay or you're okay the way the daycare workers do is a good idea. This is what I have been trying to implement for a long time. Even if a child is genuinely hurt, adults need to remain calm to keep the child calm. If an adult is upset, then the already upset kid will become more upset, and if that kid isn't upset, then they will be when they see their parents freaking out. I am not looking for excitement. I genuinely have no idea how you read my post and got that impression. None. If I'm playing checkers, you've started a game of chess. I am trying to end the excitement. When I said nothing exciting in my post, it was not because I don't want to implement something boring, it's because I do. I very much want my kids being hurt to stop being exciting or rewarding. That is the entire point of everything here. Of a week of arguing, of every other argument before this one. There was no one working up my older daughter. The younger one wasn't getting rewarded. If anything, being hurt at daycare got her essentially a timeout with an ice pack, or rubbing alcohol and a pat on the back. That is a good thing. That is what I want. OP on communicating with her wife about their daughters on how to react if they got hurt. OP, I've talked with her a lot about it. It used to start when she was already working up because one of the girls was hurt or something, and I'd try to calm her down and help the girls calm down. She'd be so keyed up that it would turn into a fight fast. So after a while I stopped trying to interfere at the time, because us arguing while one girl and inevitably the other cried wasn't exactly helpful. After that I started waiting until after all of the excitement of the emergency had passed by to bring it up. Especially when the younger girl started intentionally falling or bumping into things. I'd try to tell her that making a huge deal out of every scrape was just making things worse and the girls needed to figure out how to self-regulate and tell if they were actually hurt or not. She would accuse me of being callous and tell me she wasn't going to make our daughters feel helpless, hurt and abandoned. And no matter how hard either of us tried, is dissolved into another argument. My fiancé's best friend ruined my life. How we stood up for each other and cut off the toxic relationship. My fiancé has the biggest heart, would literally give you the shirt, pants, and hat off his body if you asked for it. He's a recovering people pleaser, and I get it because I also used to be a people pleaser. We've been together for 5+ years. A few months ago, I started picking up on his best friend making some not so nice comments towards me. I'm trying to be vague, but let's just say this friend is the type to read who in the room would be most affected by being picked on, and then he picks and picks and picks on them until they can't take it anymore. Nobody ever really holds him accountable for this, and unfortunately I have somehow become his favorite target. I tried to put up with these comments, but it started getting really elaborate. The friend would make up lies about me saying things I never said. He once called me in front of all our friends, my fiancé included, just to yell "you're a bad friend" into the phone and then hang up. There's so much to it that I can't share because I'm trying to be somewhat anonymous. It started having an effect on me and my mental health, and I ended up having a full breakdown where I told my fiancé how much this was all starting to hurt me. The first time I broke down over this, he said he would talk to his friend about teasing/messing with me less. He then told me his friend was sorry and that he'd be keeping an ear out for any other comments, and he'd jump to my defense if it happened again. A few weeks later I had a second breakdown over all this. The situation itself is hitting a very specific childhood trauma trigger for me, and he admitted that his friend didn't actually apologize. He actually said he was sorry I was too sensitive to understand his humor. At that point I told my fiancé my friendship with this person is over and I want zero contact from here on out, even if it means I have to miss out on events and parties that I'd otherwise love to go to. He agreed with me that all of this is being done with the intention to get a rise out of me, and that even if we tried to get through to this friend, he's so diabolical that we could never fully trust him to not treat me at least a little bit shitty. My fiancé kept asking if this meant he had to quit the project they're working on. I told him I would never tell him he had to because I know how much it means to him. But in all honesty, the fact that this person is treating me so poorly that I'm having physical stress reactions isn't enough for him to want to cut this person off does hurt a lot. The fact that it isn't a deal breaker for him is probably always going to sting a little. He's not confrontational at all, and I always knew that. But it's not about confrontation. It's about standing in my corner. And I can't spend the rest of my life with someone who isn't in my corner. This friend is getting married to my best friend in a few months, and we're both supposed to be in the wedding, but I really have no clue how. I get a literal knot in my stomach anytime his name is even mentioned now. I have seen this friend one time since all of this came to a head, and he was so over the top nice to me that it came off as cocky. I had the second breakdown a few days afterwards because I realized I'm possibly going to spend the rest of my life on edge and on guard anytime this person is even somewhat in my vicinity, even if they aren't actively fucking with me. I don't know how to come to terms with the fact that my fiancé was willing to lie to me on his shitty friend's behalf, but he's not willing to stand in my corner against him. I think it'll always hurt. This guy was supposed to be the best man in our wedding, and as a result we haven't been talking much about wedding plans. I think if he's still planning on this friend being in our wedding, I may have to call it off for my own sanity, and that sucks so bad. This is fucking eating me alive. I love my fiancé so much. I love his big heart and the way he loves all of it. But he loves some truly wretched people, and I don't know if he'll enforce any boundaries with those people before the lack of boundaries becomes too much for me to handle. I'm just hurt. And hurting. And I just want whatever outcome to play out so I can stop feeling so guilty and awful all the time. Relevant comments. Has OP's fiancé defended her in any way? Not necessarily. He's non-confrontational, but he knows the behavior isn't sustainable. He agrees with me that this friend is awful with the intention of being awful. They have a project they've been a part of together for over a decade, and it means the universe to him, and that's the biggest factor in all of this. He'd more than likely have to give that up. This entire situation is dog shit, and there are zero winners, except for the asshole. What does her best friend say about this behavior? I have my own feelings towards what she's going through. I think she's being love-bombed and gaslit, and I've seen some proof of it with my own eyes. She was there for the bad friend comment and kind of defended him. I know she's so love-struck that she's probably going to choose him, and it kills me, but I'm trying really hard to step back in a way that doesn't totally burn my bridge with her in the end. When he gets that ring on her finger, I have a feeling he will be a different man to her and she'll need support. I'll be there when she needs me. When told she should walk away. Don't think I'm ready to make my peace with this comment quite yet, but I hear it and I'm trying. Right before I met my fiancé, I had just cut out a vast majority of people, including one of my closest friends and a blood relative, for making me feel the same shitty small way my fiancé's friend makes me feel. It's so much harder to burn those rotten bridges when they're not yours to burn. That's a lot easier to say when you have no stakes in this, my guy. I'm in love with my partner, and I know that this is eating him up just as much as it is me. Trust me when I say he holds himself accountable for his role in this, and we've had many in-depth conversations about how his friend will forever be this way so long as everybody in his life enables him to be. It's hard to cut someone off even when they deserve it. I'm trying to show my fiancé as much grace as I can because I know how hard it is to give up on someone you always hoped would grow out of their awful behavior. Asked if there's any unresolved conflicts. No, my friend and I haven't ever really had any conflict. Me and her were hanging at my place while our partners got ready to head to hers, and they ding-dong ditched us twice. I heard the door a third time and ignored it because I assumed it was them again, and then the asshole called me, speakerphone from my friend's phone, and told me it was a mutual friend that lived in the building and was looking for them for support. I tried to jokingly call them out for ding-dong ditching, but that was when he yelled, "You're a bad friend," into the phone and hung up. I was really embarrassingly distraught by this and expressed how it was affecting me, and my friend left an hour or two later after we sat in silence. I found out later from my fiancé that all our mutual friends, including him, were in the car and heard that conversation. And everyone felt tense, but nobody said anything to him. It wasn't a joke and wasn't taken as a joke by anyone involved, not just me. After the friend who was knocking on the door went to find them, the asshole called me just to make me feel bad for not opening the door. I could hear the friend that knocked saying, "Hey man, not a big deal, it's fine," real quiet in the background, but no one else spoke up. Trust me, I know these examples seem like they shouldn't be getting to me, but this guy is poking every spot he can on me until he finds one that gives him a reaction, and then he digs and digs. It's hard not to be hurt triggered when his literal intention is so hurt, trigger me. I know this isn't going to go on much longer. Update. Never thought I'd actually update this account out of sheer fucking embarrassment, but I wanted to share this for those who encouraged me to put myself first. I want you all to know my partner absolutely came through and protected me in this. We spent all this time since my last post up until last week communicating and trying to find a resolution, and walking through how it got this bad. He took a lot of accountability for that. This is not a case of me giving in. He understands fully that this has only got so bad because it's never been handled correctly, and he had a major hand in that. There were so many more layers to this than a Reddit post ever could have conveyed. The bottom line is we are closer than ever, and after a lot of talking, we decided on my partner sending a firm but not unkind message to his friend explaining the behaviors, explaining that they were hurting his partner, and that it needed to stop. He asked to write up the first draft and we could go over it together to try to perfect it. Read it. Please know the first draft my partner wrote was so spot on what I needed to read that it instantly shifted us into us versus the problem mode when we'd been stuck butting heads for weeks. He laid everything out so clearly and in ways that we hadn't discussed, so I know it came from him. We had to tone down a lot of the big emotions. We really truly gave the message its best shot to address the situation without being hostile. We knew the response would be bad no matter what, but I don't think anything could have fucking prepared us. This man went full scorched earth and blew up everything almost immediately. He insulted my partner. He told him these events didn't happen the way I claim they do. He demanded they meet up alone with a mediator. He even threatened to reach out to my partner's parents to fill them in, which is probably the moment we stopped taking his responses seriously. All of us are almost in our 30s. If once wasn't enough, he threatened it twice. We actually had to call them and warn them that he would be showing up at their place later this week and not to open the door. There's still a good chance he'll attempt it. We stayed respectful throughout all of this, which I feel good about. We didn't stoop to his level. We didn't insult anyone. We asked for basic human respect and somehow it blew up spectacularly. In the end, we both received a massive wall of text from my now ex-best friend, fully backing up her man and telling her side of the story, which is so insanely far off from what actually happened that all I can do is laugh. We've been shifting from crying to being dumbstruck to just straight up laughing because of the absurdity. I went into this thinking she was brainwashed, but it turns out I was wrong. They're a perfect match. I wish them all the best. I am sending them one last message setting the record straight, which my partner and I decided together was the best approach apart from just ghosting, before moving on from this entirely. I'm going to make it very clear this is done. Zero contact indefinitely and I will never look back. My partner and I both deserve way better friends and we both see that so clearly now. I am so fucking glad I learned my friend's true colors before we dropped $800 on a hotel for their wedding. Thank you to everyone who was kind. Not only did I put myself first in the end, but my partner did too. We're going to take this week in stride and process it all, grieve the friendships we once thought were forever, and at the end of the week we have a conveniently timed vacation to my partner's family cottage. I think we're going to come out of this stronger, because we already feel it. Again, thank you to those who had something productive to say. And I've made my peace with all the rest. I guess if the guy does something else outlandish, maybe I'll update, but for now, this chapter is closed and I'm so ready for it to start collecting dust. Relevant comments. When told victims of abusers do a 180 in their behavior to explain why her best friend is acting the way she is and chose the ex-friend's side, I definitely went into this thinking exactly what you just laid out. But I refuse to set myself on fire to keep her warm, and the shit she said in her message about my partner is irredeemable. She can never be a part of our lives again after what was said, out of respect for me and my partner, even if any part of me wanted to hold out hope for her. I hope this is a wake-up call for her, but it won't be me on the other line. Appreciate you and your kind words, friend. This has been hell, but I think we're both just glad to have an outcome. I'll always have love for her, but it will be from a very large distance, and even if by some miracle we reconnect, we will never be as close as we once were without some intense conversations and a lot of growth. Maybe not even then. I don't see that being the case for a very long time. I've made my peace with that. How is the fiancé handling the business with the ex-friend as well as he can? He stepped down. He is going to find another project eventually, I know it. This has been so impossibly hard on both of us, but I know it's hitting him a bit more than me right now, and I'm making sure to prioritize him and remind him he can feel that pain and mourn what was, and it's not an insult to me at all if that makes sense. I know what this meant to him. He did give it up. I'm so sad he had to, but I'm grateful to him for putting his foot down. He's going to be okay, just needs some time to grieve and process. DNA confirmed I have an 18-year-old daughter living in the US. I don't know where to start, how to tell my family, or how to meet her. And yeah, I feel just as you would imagine, but it gets worse. She lives in the US, I'm in Europe. I don't know how to do this and really need advice. So what happened is that months ago I got a call from a US number. Didn't answer since I don't know anyone there. Then again the same day, so I answered ready to yell at some scammer. A girl on the other side introduces herself and just says that she thinks I might be her father. That was the first thing she said. Hi, my name is Jane and I think you might be my father. Fake name. Obviously I told her I don't have any children and that she has the wrong number. But then she drops a name I haven't heard in, you guessed it, 18 years. Back around that time I was in the US for a year on a job exchange with our sister company. Met a woman there and we hooked up for maybe a few months. I remember buying condoms after meeting her, but I can't remember if we used them every time. Anyway, I gave her my non-US number but never heard from her again. The girl on the phone asks me if my name is OP and I freak and almost hang up on her. She tells me more about her mother and I just sit there like an idiot. She'd found my name and number in her mother's diary, and now as she turned 18 she wanted to contact me. She lives with her relatives now since her mother is unable to take care of herself for some reason. I still don't know the details there. She asked me if I'd be willing to do an ancestry DNA test and even offered to pay for it. She ends by saying I should think about it and ask if she can call me again. I just say sure and we hang up. I swear I was about to faint right there and then. The whole conversation lasted only like 5 minutes. I end up taking the test and we talk a few more times. The test took forever, but yesterday she sent me a screenshot of her profile matching 50% of mine. I mean, that's just it, right? We haven't spoken since, just messaged some. I lied and told her I've been busy and we'll talk later, which now makes me feel like an ass. Up until this point I've kept it together, holding on to the thought that I'm probably not the dad, but now I can't deny it. It's probably been half my life since I last cried. I haven't told anyone this. I was kinda hoping the DNA test would come back negative and then I wouldn't have to. How to even break this to my family? I just know they'll all want her number so they can call her and then they would start flying over to see her or bringing her here. They're really pushy like that. My mom is going to freak out. I don't see my family more than a few times a year, but we'll all get together during Easter. Should I do it then with all of them at once or one at a time? I have a picture of Jane, but not much more info than what I've written here. I'm the youngest sibling and now I suddenly have the oldest of the cousins in the next generation. And I never wanted kids at all. I just don't like them and hate being tied up. Even had a vasectomy since then. And that's the easy part. The real problem is what to say to Jane. Can some sane person give an example of what to say? I've promised to call her tomorrow. Has anyone discovered they have an unknown child? If so, what did you do? How did it go? How did you connect? What happened when you met for the first time? What did your family say? I'm a bit embarrassed by this, but is there any risk of me having to pay child support retroactively? I can probably afford it, but I don't really want to. TLDR, got contacted by a young girl claiming to be my daughter, DNA later confirmed. Need help on how to proceed and what to say to her and my family. Edit. I apologize for the abomination of the text above. I blame the alcohol. Some seem to have the impression that I and/or my family are wealthy. This is not so. I wrote in a comment that knowing my family, they would probably rent a private jet and fly her here. That was a joke commenting on what they would want to do, not what they would do. No, I'm not wealthy either. In the post I wrote, I can probably afford it, but I don't really want to. And I meant that I'd hate to suddenly have something like 10% of my savings left overnight, just guessing here, no idea what the actual sum would have been. I'm sure anyone here would consider that factor. Anyway, someone said the limit is 3 years back. I didn't know that. I can be an asshole sometimes, but I'm not some monster. The money question was a question, not the question. Yes, I have had my number for a long time. Never had a reason to change it. We had our first video call today, and it was a long conversation. I had a list of things to bring up, mostly from suggestions here, so I'm ever thankful for that. Most of it was quite personal for both of us, so I won't write it here. But it boils down to that we both want to continue to stay in touch and get to know each other. We also want to meet at some point, even if we don't know when yet. Her family knows of me and they will join a call in the future so I can speak to them as well. I will hold off on telling my family for a while, but I will probably tell them one at a time. Update. Hello all. A while back I made a post asking for advice. Back then I had just had it confirmed by DNA that I had a daughter I never knew about. I called her Jane in the other post, so I will be here too. Jane is the result of me hooking up with a woman while I was in the US working. It was really interesting to read about others' experiences in the comments and DMs. It's crazy what DNA tests have done in recent times. Some wrote that Jane is probably just a kid looking for her roots, and you are absolutely right. I've been getting a steady stream of DMs since my last post. Most have been nice, just asking for an update. Then there were the absolute nutcases who can't read and told me to drown myself. Hi to you too. Jane and I continued to talk after my last post. Mostly about her life, her mother, the family trees, etc. I never thought I would connect with her like I did. She's a very intelligent and mature young woman. My family knows now, and it went better than expected. Mom and sister still went a bit apeshit, but Dad knocked them out with a large club he always carries with him. To the nutcases. No, that last bit didn't actually happen. Funny thing, my brother-in-law actually distracted Mom by reminding her that she has made sweaters for all the other grandkids, but now she's way behind on one. All of them understandably wanted to call her, but my daughter, yes, it's pretty cool to be able to say that. And I had already planned to have that call the following day. And it went really well. We made introductions, explained everything that had happened, and that we planned for me to meet her by myself before anything. And guess what? We did meet! I flew over for a 10-day stay since I'm on leave and she's working during the summer. That way we could hang out in the evenings and weekends and I could go full tourist during the day. It was surreal from the start. I landed at the very same airport I left from almost 2 decades ago and she was there to meet me together with her aunt. I can't describe with words what it was like to hug her for the first time. I'd seen her many times in video calls, but she was just so beautiful I started crying. I met so many people in the first couple of days I can't remember the names of half of them. I gave her the sweater from my mother, a hand-drawn family tree from my niece, and a gift I made myself, but I won't tell what that one was equal sign. While I still don't agree with the Georgia weather, I had a blast during the days just walking around town. I went to Jane's workplace almost every day and pretended to be a regular customer. We had lunch and dinners either alone or with the rest of her mother's side of the family. All of them were so nice and welcoming to me. I visited their house every day, but chose to stay at a hotel since I didn't want to be a bother or impose myself too hard on Jane's life. Obviously, Jane and I talked a lot. About anything and everything, but mostly about her upbringing and her mother. I mentioned in the previous post that her mother wasn't able to care for Jane. I didn't press that subject much at first, but it was unavoidable after a while. I won't get into all the details, but her mother is sick and has lost some cognitive functions. She recognizes Jane and some family members well enough, others not so much. We went to visit the facility where she lives and Jane introduced me by name and not as her father. She sadly didn't recognize me, so I stayed in the background for the remainder of our stay. Seeing a woman not much older than myself in such a state was a somber experience. So yeah, that was me rambling a bit about what happened after my last post. There was obviously a lot more, but most of it is deeply personal and emotional and I won't go through it here. I'm back home and we are keeping communications open. I'm definitely gonna fly Jane over here at some point when life allows it, but other than that, we have no specific plans for the future. My mother moved away with her fiance, and left me feeling abandoned. She was a terrible mother. I tried posting this elsewhere, but I think it got caught in a spam filter and the mods haven't responded. I don't know if this is the right place to go either since I'm 16F. Like, I mostly live with my dad, but I spend a weekend every month with Mom. They divorced 3 years ago. Mom moved in with my cousin and it was cool cause I went there all the time. Like a year and a half ago, Mom made me go there, introduced me to this girl and came out to me and said they were dating. She and her fiance are engaged now. She also said they were moving to Victoria in a week. So yeah, after a week she was gone. From where I am to her it's a drive, a ferry ride and then another drive. It takes a while to see her, that's why I can only go once a month. Since she left, everything's been so sucky between us. Now it's like a good morning message and FT good night for 5 minutes. And everything else that changed with her just dipping like that sucks too. I don't even like visiting her, cause it's like I don't belong with her and her fiance, but I went cause I thought that she wanted to see me and I miss her a lot every day. This weekend I was in Victoria and she was FT my cousin while I studied and they got to wedding talk. She said stuff like how her life is 100x better since she left, how she's finally got real happiness in her fiance. Her fiance is her world now and can't wait to fully move on from her old life. It just made me so freaking angry, like her life is so much better with me barely in it. And move on from that old life? I'm from that old life. I guess she noticed I was pissed cause at night she tried to talk to me. I said I didn't want to talk, but she's like she deserves to know when something's wrong with her girl since I always seem so depressed whenever I come over, and that just made me snap and I lost it and started shouting at her. I was like, I fucking hate the way she came out cause my life got a lot worse and it ruined things between us, and it sucks that it's like she wants me gone cause she's happier without me. That started a pretty bad argument cause she was like I'm blowing it out of proportion. I just don't understand. And then Mom just left the room, but I heard her crying when I walked by her room to go to the washroom at night. In the morning her fiance drove me to the ferry right after breakfast instead of after dinner. Since then it was just text cause I didn't want to talk to her. My dad and his GF have noticed my attitude, so yesterday I told them what happened and he flipped, telling me I couldn't say that shit to my mom, and his GF said I was an asshole for saying it. Before I went to sleep I FTD Mom to talk again and she said my happiness is hers and if she's why I'm depressed I shouldn't see her till I'm ready. Now I don't know like if I was wrong to say that shit to Mom or what I should do even. My fucking counselor is still in Barbados. My dad's at work and his GF's like she's staying out of it and my cousin did too. Again, sorry if this is the wrong subreddit. If there's a better one for me to post since the other one I tried doesn't seem to be it either. Please let me know. Update. So a lot of shit has happened since my last post and I just feel more shit than before. I didn't plan on posting here again but you all were so nice I thought it couldn't hurt to hear what you have to say. But I called my uncle, he wanted to see me, cause I was scared my dad told him and then he's ashamed of me too cause he's gay and he's my fave uncle ever. So he picked me up after school and I went to his apartment and he just gave me a big hug because he knew something was up. So I told him what I said and why I said it and that I was scared he'd be mad at me too if my dad was the one who told him. He just told me he isn't mad and he understands and we played basketball at the court nearby until it was time for him to drop me off. That was like the last time I've even felt actually happy cause the entire rest of this month has been such absolute shit. Like I phoned my mom to say sorry the day after and talk about how I feel but all she did was get mad at me for telling my uncle and said I'm not allowed to share stuff about her home without her permission. I said I was sorry about both things but she said it didn't matter now and just hung up. Then her fiance texted and just said to give my mom a few days to calm down. That just made me mad cause why should I? She's my mom. I should be able to phone her whenever and I tried but she just declined my call and then I think I turned off her phone. I don't know I haven't slept properly at all since then cause I think I ruined things with my mom for good like all she's been doing is texting me and we've barely actually talked. Like I keep thinking about it and my thoughts and dreams just get all messed up and it's like I get this soft lump in my stomach that keeps coming and going the more I think about it. It feels like I was right about me being part of her old life and I wish I'd never said what I did to her. Then it turns out I was supposed to get a tetanus shot when I was 11 but I didn't for some reason. We're not anti-vaxxers. So I had to get it now cause Dad said Vancouver Coastal Health Authority was on his ass and I ended up having a terrible allergic reaction to it. Like I got sent to the hospital for a week cause of it, like apparently super rare reaction hooray for me. And that fucked up my exams too and my mom didn't even come see me cause she was going to a cabin with her fiance the day after. She talked to my dad on the phone and learned how bad it was but just texted me she knew I'd be better and that if I was still there when she came back she'd come right away like it made me want to stay in the hospital for longer. She didn't fucking come, everyone came but her, like my cousin came every day and my dad's GF even slept by me a few days and my nieces and even my boyfriends and best friends' moms came but mine didn't. And when I got out all I got was a text saying so happy you're out of the hospital baby with a selfie from her and her partner showing off the cabin included with it. Like I couldn't stop looking at that stupid photo I like obsessed over it for days and kept getting that stupid feeling in my stomach and so I smashed my phone and my dad's GF heard and he got an emergency meeting with my counselor. She's a psychologist but I've always called her that. Set up. And I told her everything but more details obvi and at the end of it she said I'm very likely depressed and might need treatment. I don't know. I got scared and asked her to tell my dad and she did and told us to get our family doctor to give a referral to a psychiatrist to get proper diagnosis for treatment or to just get it from the family doctor. My dad got scared and made us get that referral the next day. My dad made the appointment and asked my mom to come but she said she won't be able to and just texted me to stay strong and remember I'm the most important thing in the world to her. I don't know what to do. I don't want meds or anything. I just want my mom to love me like she used to again. If you guys have any advice on what to do, I need to hear it cause it's like my mom isn't even listening to me anymore and the appointment is on Friday and I'm feeling scared. Second update. So, I would have made an update earlier but I just didn't have time. I'm in the hospital right now recovering from my ankle surgery and all I have is time until I can go home on Friday. So I thought I might as well update. The day after I wrote my post I had my niece's mom, my cousin-in-law but she introduces me as her little sister, so sister-in-law, drive me to my uncle and he just gave me the biggest hug ever and I don't know I just ended up crying a little and they ended up calming me down. I told my uncle about the appointment with the psychiatrist and that I was scared even though everybody, you guys, was saying it would be okay and that I'd just been so unhappy and that I'd just missed my mom so much. He agreed to go with me and my dad to the psychiatrist cause my mom wouldn't be coming. I don't know, I just didn't sleep at all that night and just felt so scared in the morning and kept thinking about mom and didn't want to go to school either. But I did go, just felt so weird like that feeling in my stomach was just there and not going away. Only hanging out with my boyfriend felt right and before lunchtime I just fell asleep in class and got sent to the office. They phoned my dad and he signed me out and dropped me off at my uncle's house. He was already taking care of my niece so I felt bad but I went to sleep at the same time as her and he took a really cute photo of us sleeping next to each other. He woke me up when my dad came back and we just went to the psychiatrist together. Long story short, at the end of the appointment, the psychiatrist prescribed me a really low dose of antidepressants because I'm still scared. I've been taking them and they have made me feel a bit better, but I have another appointment next week because my counselor says I might need a higher dose. When I vented to my counselor, she said she'd be willing to host an extra joint session between me and my mom on Zoom if she agreed, and that it might help if I get my feelings across with a third party. I didn't want to do it, but some of you recommended it and my counselor said it could be a good first step. So I called my mom and it was a short conversation again, but she agreed to the counseling session and all I had to do was send her the Zoom link, so we set one up for later. So I had the Zoom session in our computer room so I'd be all alone there, and at first my mom seemed so excited because she was like, we can work through our issues and put them behind us. I don't want to talk about all of it. I mean, I couldn't anyway. I can't remember most of it, but it didn't go well at all. Like when my counselor brought up not being with her that much, my mom said when I came to University of Victoria, I'd obviously stay with her, and I just said after everything I didn't even want to go to the University of Victoria anymore and would rather just go to University of British Columbia because everybody here actually wants me. My mom said that was ridiculous since outside of Waterloo, University of Victoria was the best option for software engineering in Canada and University of British Columbia only has electrical computer engineering, so I'd have to go to her if I still wanted to do that. I remember my mom said a few times like she'd spent over a decade doing nothing but being a mom, and now that she finally understood herself she just wanted time to explore that, and I should appreciate that. Then at the end of it I told my mom that I hated that she didn't come and see me in the hospital and that she didn't even phone me like I told her I was scared I'd die, and she just said it wasn't that serious because it was a vaccine and those protect us, and to not act like it was serious. I don't know, that made me mad and I just muted my mic because I didn't want them to hear me crying, but I kinda had a breakdown and just ran out to my dad and his fiancée because I was crying. They said they ended the session, but I don't know what they said to my mom or the counselor. Apparently I fell asleep crying on the couch while hugging my dad, but I don't remember any of it, but my dad said I was crying really loudly. I think they carried me to their bed because when I woke up in the morning I was there and my dad was on a mattress by the door and she was on one by the washroom door. They said it was to block me because they were scared I'd try something. My dad took my new phone and laptop from me for a bit and said it might be healthy for me to stay off them for a bit. I have them back now. I haven't talked to my mom at all since then. I mean, not even good morning, good night texts. She hasn't contacted me at all about my broken ankle, even though I had surgery yesterday, and I feel like she doesn't even care that I got hurt. Like, I know Dad told her that I'm going to surgery, but she hasn't called. I have my phone and laptop back now, but my dad made me delete IG and Snap because he's worried seeing her on there might trigger me. A lot of you said I should stop talking to her, but I feel bad about it. Like, when I think about it, makes me feel worse, like it's over now and I don't have her anymore. I just want her back. The only time I learn what's up with her is if I go to my cousin, who my mom stayed with after the divorce, and ask, and apparently she's still happy and is occupied with all her wedding planning. Like, another thing that sucks is that I used to love watching Scream with my cousin, but now I can't even watch it because I feel bad for Billy because his mom left him too, and I feel bad for feeling like that because he's the villain. So I couldn't even get through our rewatch, and we couldn't even watch the new one. I told my counselor that I still feel really bad and sad and nothing's changed, and she said I need to bring it up at my next appointment with the psychiatrist so he can up my dose. I don't know. I feel confused and I don't like not seeing or talking to my mom at all. I feel like I've done the wrong thing. I've tried to do things we used to do with my dad's fiancée and my boyfriend's mom, but it's not the same and I just miss her more, even though she probably doesn't miss me at all. I wish I could see her, but I don't want to keep ruining things for myself, because what if she doesn't want me anymore? I'd rant to my counselor about it, but I'm stuck in the hospital bed till Friday. So I guess that's why I'm back here looking for advice on what to do when I'm out of here. Third update. Hey guys, I'm posting again because I'm confused as to what's going on, and I thought maybe I'd get some opinions here before I bring it up with my therapist. Pretty much, I don't know if my mom hates me still or if now she wants to be my mom again, because everything that she's done lately has made it so confusing. So my foot is still bad. The doctor said it's healing, but I'm mostly confined to crutches or to a wheelchair, and so I'm not really able to go to a lot of places. I mean, I can go anywhere, but I don't go because it just takes too long to get around. I'm guessing that my cousin told my mom because apparently she came to New Westminster and did her wedding dress shopping there with my cousin and her fiancé, and she didn't even tell me. I know we hadn't talked since the therapy session, but she promised me that I would get to do that with her, and she didn't even tell me. I found out because when I visited my cousin, she showed me the dresses she was going to wear at the wedding and at the reception, and the ones my mom and her got for me to wear at those. I was confused because I was sad she didn't take me, but happy because that meant she still wanted me there. Anyway, her wedding was on Canada Day, and I went with my cousin to Victoria a week earlier. My dad did say I didn't need to go, but I didn't want to miss it. We stayed at an Airbnb that my mom got for some of our relatives because her place was too small. She didn't come to visit me there, but my cousin went to meet her and I didn't go because my foot was hurting really bad. When she came back, she said my mom was really disappointed I didn't come as well. The day after, I was going to go shopping downtown with my cousin, but then my mom came. Like, when she saw me, she didn't give me a hug like she usually gives. She just kind of held my shoulders and gave an awkward kiss on the cheek and said she's glad that I decided to come. Then she kind of turned me over to my aunt, my mom's cousin, to go shopping with instead, because she and my cousin would be busy that week with all the wedding stuff and making sure it all went perfectly so we couldn't go downtown. I love my aunt, so it wasn't bad going downtown with her. She didn't even mind pushing me in the wheelchair, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. 2 days before the wedding, they had this really big family dinner where my mom and her wife were introducing people to their relatives. Because my foot got swollen and the boot was hurting and I had to go in the wheelchair. So my mom didn't even introduce me to people, and one of the few times I was able to talk to her, this guy related to her wife interrupted us, asked who I was, and she just said don't worry about her, and then had an aunt of mine wheel me away. That made me really upset, but I did feel a bit better because her fiancé's parents brought gifts for me. Not my kind of stuff. I think they thought I was younger than I am. The wedding itself was cool. My foot wasn't badly swollen then, so I was able to use my crutches. My mom acts so differently then and made me take a bunch of pictures with her and with her fiancé, and she seemed so happy and told me that it was the best day of her life only because I came. At the reception, I wore the dress that she got me, but I couldn't walk in the crutches while wearing it. Not like the wedding one. So my aunt made me go in that dress and in my wheelchair even though I didn't want to. And my cousin said I could wear a different dress, but my aunt was like, my mom got the dress specially for me and will be upset if I don't wear it. Then at the reception, I wasn't seated at the table with family near the stage where she and her fiancé sat, but at a table with kids I didn't even know, even though some of my relatives younger than me were at the family table. My aunt said they moved me there because of my wheelchair, but I just don't get why I couldn't be with my family. My mom didn't even take a photo with me at the reception. She just came to me once and said hi, and I wasn't even in the family photo because we didn't bring my crutches cause of my wheelchair, so my aunt said my mom told them to leave me because they couldn't fit me in. Then the day after we were going home, my mom came to say goodbye to us. She talked to me alone for a minute, and then she said sorry for everything that happened between us before, and that she was hoping we could get past it, but if we couldn't, she was still happy. I came to her wedding. I didn't really get to say anything, because she just hugged me and sent us on our way. I don't feel that sad about everything anymore though, because I think that the antidepressants have been helping. I have been feeling happier for about a month now, and nothing has happened to me like I was afraid. For the last 2 weeks, my mom has been texting good morning and good night again when I didn't do anything, like text, call or phone or FaceTime since the therapy session with her. It hasn't been more than that, but I've been saying it back. I'm just confused with the way she's acting and what she wants. Do you guys have any clue or advice? Edit. I wish I could say thank you to everybody who has commented and given advice. I'm sorry if I didn't respond to you personally, but it means so much to me that you guys cared. I've read everything and I will be bringing up a lot of this with my counselor. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. 4th update. So I got a phone call from my mom and I did answer, cause I guess I was curious, cause she's only been texting me since her wedding, and she said she wanted me to come over, and even though I was really missing her, because I was going to go with my uncle's family to Seattle that weekend, I said no. I think I would have said no anyway because I was just planning on staying away like everybody here suggested, and my counselor also said that it might be good to define my life without her. She said okay, but then the day after, I think she phoned my dad because he said that I had to go to Victoria instead. I told him I didn't want to go, but we ended up arguing and he said that I didn't have a choice and my uncle would take me somewhere when I got back. So my dad dropped me and my cousin off at the ferry, and when we got to Victoria, it turns out my mom and her wife, I guess stepmom now, moved into their new house. My mom's wife wasn't there because she was in Ottawa for work, but her parents did come. They're really nice. They kind of went on about how they thought they'd never have grandkids and were so happy when they learned my mom had me. They did offer to get me some presents this time, but my mom let them take me to dinner at some pierogi place downtown instead. I don't know what to think about the visit because so much of it was good, but the one bad part was really bad. When I got there, I wanted to talk to her about the stuff at her wedding and everything else, and I wanted to tell her that I would rather have gone with my uncle, but then I just felt really nervous and just couldn't because I don't know. I kind of felt like I'd just ruin the entire trip if I did. So I just didn't, and maybe that was the wrong thing. The first thing I noticed in her house was her giant graduation picture where she's holding a baby me above the fireplace. Then my mom surprised me by showing me my room, and it's perfect. I have a huge bed, a big personal washroom, a walk-in closet, one of those fancy standing desks, and a TV. It's all white because my mom was like, when my foot is better, she wants me to come and paint and decorate it all with her. She even promised she'd never let anybody use the room even if I'm not there that often. The first night after I got back from the pierogi place, my mom, my cousin and I stayed up so late just watching TV, and I even fell asleep hugging her. The next day we went downtown and my mom took us shopping and then to the Royal British Columbia Museum, the one with the mammoths. My foot and my hands really started hurting after my mom made me use my crutches and not wheelchair because she said it'd be good exercise. So then she took us to a spa. We took so many pictures and I'm pretty sure she put them on Instagram, but I'm not allowed on it anymore, so I'm not sure. I was really tired when we got back, so I conked out right away, and when I woke up in the morning, Mom actually brought me pancakes in bed because of my foot, 'cause I love it when she makes those. The rest of that day was good too, except at night my mom said that when I moved in for university, we could make every day like this, so I reminded her that I might go to University of British Columbia instead. We got into a really big argument about university, and I did scream at her and bring up stuff from before, but pretty much my mom said that she wants me to go to University of Victoria if I still want to do software engineering, and said that if it was any other kind of engineering I wanted to do, she wouldn't mind paying for the University of British Columbia, but that it's not good for software. She did say she would still pay no matter where I went, but she'd be really disappointed if I chose not to go to the best university for my degree where I could stay with her, just 'cause I blamed her coming out and moving for everything bad that's happened to me since then. She also said I needed to stop exaggerating how bad everything has been because it shouldn't make me change my university plan. I tried telling her that's not what I meant, but I couldn't say it right, and I fucking started crying, and she seemed to get really mad. She didn't yell or anything, but she just gave a frustrated sigh and said I needed to stop crying, grow up, and accept that she handled things the best way she could, and my attitude problems were why it's been a bad year for us. That just made me cry more, and she said if I don't grow up I'm never going to get a husband, and then left the room. I just kind of kept crying because I don't feel like any of that is true, and the husband part was so fucking weird, and I honestly can't stop thinking about that part specifically. Half an hour later, she came back with water and made me drink and started telling me how if I want to do computer or electrical or any other engineering, she'd support the University of British Columbia but not the University of Victoria. Is the best for software outside of Waterloo, and she doesn't want to send me so far away but will still pay for it if that's what I choose. I don't know why she wanted to keep talking about that, but I didn't, so I just agreed when she said she'll take me to talk to an advisor to convince me next time I come over. Me and my cousin left early the next morning, so yesterday, and my mom said she'd try and come over for my birthday because her in-laws really wanted to attend, and that she'd try and make an appointment at the University of Victoria once my foot's better. The thing is, that argument was the one bad thing about that visit. Everything else would have been perfect because it was just like it used to be with her, and I don't even know if I'd be posting if it had been, but I just can't stop thinking about the stuff that she said when we argued. I don't even know why she said the husband thing. I just don't get what the fuck she meant by that, or why she would bring it up. I'm not going to smash my phone this time, but I do feel mad thinking about it. I told my cousin about the argument we had on the way back, and she told me she personally thinks I should go to University of British Columbia and would try to convince my mom, but that she thinks she just wants me to live with her again. I told my dad and his fiancée about it, and he apologized for making me go but said that he had to. He and his fiancée have checked on me a dozen times already. Like, I'm get that stupid fucking feeling in my stomach again every time I think about it, and I wish I'd been able to go with my uncle instead. But I am going to spend the rest of the week at his apartment, so I guess it's fine. I'm going to go to my counselor again today before my uncle picks me up. Does anybody have any advice for me that I can bring up? 'Cause we went through comments posted here last time. 5th update. So some stuff has happened. I've pretty much just been texting with my mom since my visit to her. I tried to keep it good night, good morning, but when I didn't respond to her other messages, she phoned my dad and he told me I didn't have to phone her but to at least respond to her other messages. I did have to go to Victoria for Thanksgiving because her wife's whole family was going to be there, and she told my dad I had to go. I was only there for 3 days with my cousin, and the first 2 days, my mom pretty much spent with me, and it was like it used to be again. Like, she and I went shopping. We even cuddled to sleep watching TV again, but the 3rd day she and her wife were focused on the dinner and guests and everything, so I get it. Yeah, I was upset that she paid really little attention to me, but her wife's entire immediate family was there, and I get that she needed to focus on them. But when we left after dinner, we had to take the really late ferry. My mom said bye and that she was going to book a meeting at the University of Victoria to take me to, and didn't even give me a second to talk about it before waving us bye. And then it went back to just texting good morning, good night until my birthday. So then my mom and her wife came with her wife's parents because my mom was like they really wanted to celebrate my birthday. I guess they're my step-grandparents, but I really like them and they seem to really like me too. I mean, my step-grandma said the best thing about the wedding was that they finally got a grandchild, and they brought a lot of presents for me. They have a niece around my age and they had her go out with them and just get so much stuff that they think someone my age will like, and I do like it. My mom got me an album of pictures of us and said to look at the photos whenever I miss her cause it'll make it like she's right there with me. At the party, Mom and Dad seemed to get along just like when they were married. Like they were laughing, telling jokes, and even had me do goofy pictures with them like we all used to. Mom's wife got along with Dad's fiancé and with my uncle, his son and his son's wife. My mom didn't talk to my uncle at all beyond when he came to say hi to her, and she said hi in a really mean tone to him, which was weird since they used to be so close. I guess she's still mad at him for when I talked to him about what was going on. She was really weird with my boyfriend and was nonstop making jokes about him and me getting married and making her a grandma. She straight up said to him, "I don't want you to wait until I'm gray and in my 40s to make me a grandma." But his mom also got in the joke, so I guess it was just a mom thing. My mom and her wife left after only about an hour and a half in order to go stay at a fancy hotel all the way over by Cole Harbor, even though my dad did offer them a room. Mom just said she doesn't feel it'd be appropriate to stay in the same house as him, and it's too painful for her, cause she designed the house when I asked her why she couldn't stay. It did piss me off cause they came at 4 o'clock, and so when everyone was setting up, I guess that means they missed the actual party. My step-grandparents stayed though and only left in the morning when my mom and her wife came to pick them up. Then at like 8:30, my mom FaceTimed me, but it looked like she and her wife were in the hotel spa or something. It doesn't make sense cause I thought those closed pretty early in the day, but they were wearing those robes and looked like they were someplace really fancy. Then my mom was like she has to hang up cause she doesn't want me to see them without clothes on, and they were both giggling at that. That really fucking pissed me off that they ditched my birthday to go hang out in a spa. Maybe they were actually doing something else, but I honestly don't want to even think about that beyond what I have. Then there was the album that she gave me as a present. I didn't really think about that a lot then because I was just happy that she came. But I did try yesterday because my dad's fiancé was meeting with some of her relatives for last-minute planning because her and dad's wedding is on Sunday. I wasn't with them because I was studying, but when I did leave my room to get my charger, I heard them talking about me. My dad's fiancé was saying the best stuff about me, but her relatives were saying some shitty things about my mom, and she wasn't stopping them. She was also talking about how my mom is forcing my dad's hand to send me to her over winter break instead of my uncle's cause that's when their honeymoon is. I didn't mean a spy, and I get now that I'm writing about it that what they were saying wasn't exactly wrong and they were only saying it because they didn't think I'd hear, but it really fucking pissed me off, and it still does. So because I was upset, I looked at the album, and it's pictures of both of us from when I was a baby until now. Behind each picture she slid a note about why that memory is special or what the picture means to her if she can't remember. But it just made me angry because of how few photos there are from after she moved to Victoria. Most of them are the ones of the wedding day and barely anything before that. There's one photo in it that was like a month before she came out, and it's when she lived at my cousin's house, and pretty much I surprised her with cookies that my cousin and I made that day. When I surprised her, she hugged me so tight and told me she was so proud of me, and my cousin took the photo on her phone. But that night I found her crying in her room, and she said it's because I'm growing up, and said something like how she wishes she could live in moments like that forever since she's so proud of me. And it just makes me so mad because that's what I want back, and the fact that I'm not even in photos of her pre-wedding events and reception and so much other stuff in Victoria just makes it seem as if the album is her giving me proof that I've barely been in her life and that I should be happy for it. And I know I shouldn't be thinking that because she actually gave me such a good gift, and I'm poisoning it in my own mind instead of valuing it and all the memories inside. My therapist has been trying to help me define life without her, and it's hard because I don't want to, because I can't let go of this feeling that it could be good again, and I don't want those people to be right. My therapist says it's all right to want that, but for my own sake I need to in case it doesn't ever happen, and it'll help once I'm in university, so I've been trying, but I hate it. So, I guess I came here again to ask for advice and stuff I can bring up in therapy. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I also thought that perhaps the grandparents-in-law saw how little OP was being acknowledged and wanted to change that. If they were really crazy about having a grandchild, they would probably want a genetic one. I think they might possibly be decent people trying to help that poor neglected kid. Op's mother is a cruel, disgusting human being. Comment 2. I get that feeling too. Mom was completely okay with leaving her old life, her daughter, behind, until wannabe granny grandpa started wanting to be involved. Now daughter has value. It's so infuriating that all these adults, minus the uncle, keep blaming shifting onto her. Like, why does this kid have to make all the goddamn adjustments in behavior and attitude? Of course she is depressed that her mom threw her away. But this kid keeps acknowledging, and she could be handling things better instead of making them worse. She isn't. It is normal to be mad at mom for treating her like an unwanted wedding crasher. She justified every shitty thing as something she, the kid, could have done better. No. She could have had a teenage meltdown when mom ditched her for the wedding dress shopping or when she didn't even introduce her at the wedding. Being put at the kids' table. Fucking police. Comment 3. The husband comment makes way more sense now if she wants her to have kids. That's totally why she said that. She wants her daughter to have kids so the in-laws have grandkids. That's totally it. Why would a lesbian make a comment like that to their daughter? It seems so weird and not something a gay person would say. But if she wants her daughter to have kids, of course she wants her to have a husband. She probably wants to speed that process along. What a fucking awful thing to say to your 16-year-old daughter while she's crying. Instead of being empathetic and understanding, she dismisses her feelings, insults her, then tells her she won't ever get a husband. I hope this girl realizes she doesn't need her mom. She's not at fault and she gets better with her depression.